Story time! Hello everyone, my name is Inbu, and in this video, I'll be talking about my good experiences in being a sorority. So in this time lapse, as you can see, I'm actually redrawing an older piece that I did in 2018 that I decided to redo in 22 because obviously there was some improvement. So back to the story time. I was in a sorority, but I won't disclose the name. But you could probably find it given the context clues I describe my experience. So, I rushed in the fall of 2019 along with 7 other girls. And I remember one of my most vivid memories of this candidacy period was when we were all discussing about who would be taking which officer positions. And I remember I was walking out with a couple of girls, and this one girl was like, "Hey guys, I want to run for president. Can you vote for me?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll vote for you as long as you vote me for vice president." And I just remember throughout that entire conversation, I felt there was something off. And I remember when I went home, I realized it was because I felt like I was the one who deserved the presidency and not that girl. So when I went home that night, I voted Google Forms. I just remember typing up my name, and we voted anonymously, and I voted myself for president. And the next week, when we all met up, it was for elections, and they were calling us up and they were announcing who was running for who. I remember she was so surprised, "Oh, I thought you wanted to run for vice president." And I was trying to act surprised, "Oh, who here would have voted me for president? I thought we all said that I was gonna run for vice president." But I just remember sitting there with a look of disbelief in my face, but deep down, I knew that I deserved the presidency and not her, so I voted for myself. In the end, she actually ended up winning the president role, and I won the vice president role, so I remember being a little bit salty, and I was like, whatever, fine. Just know that I'll run for the president of the entire sorority in a couple of years. So that was my candidacy period. So, fast forward to Big Little Reveal, and Big Little Reveal is basically whenever you get a big sister to mentor you throughout your time in the sorority. Instead of Big Little Reveal, there's costumes, with each family having their own theme. So my family theme was Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Gang, with me being Scooby-Doo. And I remember this for the Big Little Reveal was kind of like a musical chairs kind of thing, and all the littles were sitting in the middle, and there'd be music running, and there'd be bigs who were covered in a blanket. They would be walking around, so whenever the music stopped, one of them would reveal themselves. And I remember when I saw my big, I was so excited, because she was one of my top choices, and I wrote a big ass paragraph about why I wanted her to be my big. And I just remember being so excited because I was a little bit scared, because I knew we kind of had differing personalities, because she was one of those loud sociable girls, and she was one of those kind of people that whenever they laugh you can hear it across the room and you know who's laughing. And for me, I was kind of this shy, introverted girl, and I was oh, what if nobody likes me? But yeah, so I got her as my big, and I thought that we clicked pretty well, so that was my experiences with my Big Little Reveal, and I still love my big, and I still keep in contact with her, even though I switched university, so I'm no longer going to that sorority anymore. And yeah, so from the get-go, I was always going the extra mile. As a candidate, I went to every chapter meeting, even though I didn't have to. And whenever I was initiated, I actually ran for 2 officer positions, Director of Merchandise and Director of Academics. However, unfortunately, COVID actually hit the next semester, so that was spring 2020 when I was supposed to take on these new officer positions. But despite that, I still wanted to put my all into these officer positions. So the Director of Merchandise is actually in charge of distributing clothes and managing inventory. So when I was in charge of inventory, I remember I saw it and I was like, oh my god, this is so messy, because there's just incomplete records of the shirts and just missing pictures on the little PowerPoint where they presented the entire inventory. So I decided to clean it up, and I made a fake model of a pillow and I took pictures of the shirt, like the design front and back for all the shirts. And on top of that, I folded and labeled every single shirt. And we're talking about dozens of clothes littered like all over my bedroom floor. And I remember like I went and bought storage boxes, and I put each shirt in like a different box and labeled each box which box had which shirts, and so it was like super organized. And this process actually took me like a few days, and there was just so many clothes. There was no place for me to sleep in my like entire bedroom. And that was like my experience as director of merchandise. And so for academics, I was in charge of making sure that everyone hit their minimum study hours of about 20 hours every month and reward those with high test grades and high study hours. And I just remember with like COVID hitting, the transition to online classes was so messy, so I decided to lower the requirements to help my sisters out. And I also remember I tried to put my own twist on awards, because a lot of the awards were just kind of like, here's your gift card. But I wanted to make it personal, so I decided to do portrait painting of each winner, because as a digital artist, portraits are my thing. And I remember after the first portrait I did, I just remember feeling so burnt out. And I was like, oh my god, I don't want to do this next painting, because I was basically painting for free. At the time, I charged $100 for each portrait, so in a sense, I was kind of losing $300 that semester. And that doesn't even actually count what would have been the next semester. I had a different system. If I would have went through with that, I would have lost about $1,200. And keep in mind, like, each portrait takes me a minimum of 10 hours. So that would have been 30 hours, which I would be giving to the sorority and not getting paid. And if I would have went through this same thing the next semester, that actually would have been 120 hours. But despite like all the little setbacks that happened because of COVID, I actually got a little, and she was the most amazing little. And I remember she was like the only one in the sorority with similar interests as me, so like D&D and art. And I know the sorority to me was always like accepting of all kinds of people, but she was like specifically the person that had the same interests as me. And I remember we had like a couple of discussions about how she felt like there was like a weird vibe in the sorority, like something just felt off. And at the time I kind of like disagreed, given like my perspective and my experiences when I was rushing. I thought that the sorority was very accepting and they welcomed me with open arms. So yeah, at the time I didn't know what she was talking about until way later. And so those were like the main highlights of my good experiences in the sorority. I actually don't go there anymore, but because I switched universities, but my time there was really good and I treasure all my memories there. But yeah, if you want to listen to the real tea or the reality, I will actually be talking about that in the next video. So if you want to go ahead and listen to the actual tea, go ahead and be on the lookout for my next video. Thank you for watching the video. The time-lapse or the walkthrough time-lapse of this video will actually be provided after this video, or actually the next video after. So if you want to see more content like this, story times, painting walkthroughs, tutorials in the future, then please like and subscribe. Okay, bye!